In this video, I'll take you through some basic Microsoft Excel functions that will enable you to present your data and findings in a visually appealing way. We will go over fonts, colors, text alignment, and some basic Excel formatting options that are available here on the Home tab. Let's start off with exploring some of the Excel functions with font. A font has a particular size, weight, and style of a typeface. So here, if I change the selected font from Calibri to, say, Algerian, you can see that the way city appears in my cell has changed. I can do the same for several cells at the same time. So all I need to do is select a combination of cells, go back to fonts, and maybe I want to change them to Arial Black. And you can see that they look very different from Calibri, which is the font used for all my other data. I can even change the size of this font. So I can change that from 11 to say 24. And you can see that now my data has increased in its size, and I would actually have to resize my column to be able to see the data. Okay, but I don't really want to do that for this particular set of data, so I'm going to undo this and go back to my previous font. Let's say I want to change the font and font size for my heading here. So I'm going to select all these 4 cells and say I want to keep Arial Black as my font, and maybe I want to change the font size to 12 to make it seem a little bigger. In addition to using this box to select my font size, I can also use the increase font size icon and the decrease font size icon to be able to adjust my font size. So let's try pressing increase, and you can see that right now the font size is 12. If I press the increase, it would increase by 2. I can press it again and my font size is again increased by 2. And I can press the decrease font size to be able to bring it back. So this is just another really quick option available on Excel. Now I'm going to go back and I would change my font back to Calibri. In addition to changing the font, you can also work with the same font but make it look a little different by using some of these other options. So bold is one of the first ones. If I press bold, see what happens. Data in my selected cells is now in bold. If I press italics, so the data that was bold has now italicized, and I can even underline this data by clicking on underline. So you see there are all these options that are available to help you improve the readability of your data. I don't really want to have these headers italicized, so I'm going to click back on italics, and now they are bold and underlined. I also don't really need them to be underlined, so I'm going to remove the underline as well, but I would leave them as bold. The next option that we have here is borders. And to show you how it works, let's say I've selected this particular cell and I go to borders and I want to give it a bottom border. You see what has happened? This particular cell now has a bottom border. Okay, let's go back to it and also give it a top border. So now this cell has both a bottom and a top border. Okay, I'm going to go back and I have this option here of all borders. So if I give all borders, my entire cell has now a periphery border. Okay, and I can do the same for my entire data in one go. So all I need to do is select all my cells together and all borders, and now the data is presented in a table. I would encourage you to come back to borders and really try out different types of options that are available. In addition to having a whole lot of different options, you can also go to more options and create your own design as well. It's a really cool option that Excel has, and it makes your data more readable by presenting it in a table. Now let's look at the next option right here, which is called the fill color. So you would have usually seen that headings are sometimes colored in the data. So I can do it here. I can go here and select the color that I want for my headings. I usually like it to be blue, so I'm going to keep that blue in the background. And I also have an option to be able to change the color of my text. So let me give you an example first here with New York. So here right now I have New York in black, and if I want to change the text color, I can go here and I can change the colors the color of the text to say red, and I can represent this particular entry in red. So if you want to highlight something in your data to your manager or anybody who is reading your data, this is a great way to represent specific entries. Okay, I'm going to undo this, and what I want to do is that I want to change the color of the text in my headings to white, and it looks much better now. As you can see, there are a whole lot of different options within font, and you also have this launch icon to go to font settings, and it gives you a whole lot more options by going in and changing your border, filling the different colors. You can even protect your cells. These are some advanced options that I'll go over with you in some of my future videos. Now let's move on to alignment, and I'll start off with the left alignment first. So here, if you will see, all the data within these cells is aligned towards the left hand side, while these numbers within the revenue column are aligned on the right hand side. And this is something that Excel does automatically. Excel's default settings are such that if you type in a number and hit enter, it will align the number on the right hand side of the cell. And if you type in a text and hit enter, it aligns it on the left hand side of the cell. And this is what you are observing here. So revenue is aligned on the left hand side, while all these different numbers are aligned on the right hand side of the cell. While presenting your data, you may choose to change the alignment to make it more readable. So for example, if I select my entire data and I click on left alignment, you will see that everything within each of these cells is now aligned on the left hand side. I also have this option of center alignment. If I click on center, all my data is now in the center of the cell. And similarly, you have the align right option. I kind of like all of these aligned centrally, so I'm going to move to center and leave it at that. In addition to that, I also have these options on top, middle, and bottom alignment. And right now, you can see that bottom alignment is selected. This is not something that we can really see right now, but if I change the size of my cell, so here I have expanded row 8, and you can see that these cells are a lot bigger now. And let's say I select one of the cells and I click middle alignment. You see my data here in cell C8 is now aligned in the middle of the cell, and I can even change that to top. So this is something that comes in very handy if you have cells of different sizes and you want to show everything aligned centrally. Next, we have this really cool feature called orientation. To illustrate how it works, I'm going to further expand my 8th row, and I have New York selected here. And let's say I want to change the orientation of New York to vertical text. You see now New York is expanded vertically in this particular cell. Again, this is something that comes in very handy if you have a whole lot of data and you're trying to represent it in different ways to make it more readable. So these are all the different options that are available. You can even change the angle of the way New York is presented. You can rotate the text down. You have a whole lot of different options. I'm going to undo the changes that I just did, and I'll bring it back to normal. I'm going to double click here and it will bring back my row to its original size. So again, these are really cool features that Excel has to help you make the data more readable. Okay, next you have some indentation options. So let's say I select cell D5 and I can change the indentation of my content within that cell by clicking on these left and right arrows. So here I can bring it back slowly. I can change it to be on the left hand side. Again, these are all the different options that are available to you. I'm going to do undo to bring it back. Next, let's look at wrap text. Sometimes you might have a longer sentence within a particular cell. Let's say I write here, this is my Excel tutorial. Right now, you're able to see the entire contents of this particular cell. But if I have another piece of data in the cell adjacent to it, you will not be able to see the full sentence. Let's say I have something like a number here. And now you can only see this is my. What you can do is to be able to see the full content, click on wrap text, and what it does is that it has wrapped the text within this particular cell, and now you're able to see all of it. What it has also done is that it has readjusted the height of this row to be able to wrap the text here. Another option that we could have used was if I undo this change and I do not have a particular number here, I can merge these three different cells that my data is spilling over to into one cell by using merge and center. So now the data in one particular cell is merged over these three different cells and they all become a single entity called G2. Next, I'm going to show you number formatting. So right here, I have this revenue and all this data, although are numbers, are also currency. So if you see here, I have general selected here, which essentially is no specific format. But if I want this 150 to be represented as a currency, all I need to do is click on currency and it shows up with a dollar sign and two decimal digits. If I want, I can remove the decimal digits by decreasing decimal. So I decreased one decimal and then the second one, and it became 150 with a dollar sign in front of it. There are some other options available here as well. I can make that as a number with two decimal digits. I can change it to accounting, which again comes up with 150 having a dollar sign in front of it and two decimal digits. Again, if I want, I can remove the decimal digits. I can even add more decimal digits if I want to by using this left icon here called increase decimal. So I can add, say, 3 decimal digits. If you go to the next option, we have something called short date. If I click on this, let's see what happened. It changed 150 into a date which is in the 1900s. And this essentially is May 29th, 1900. The reason why this happened is because Excel's calendar starts from January 1st, 1900s. And whatever it sees as a number, it converts that into a day starting from January 1st, 1900. So to give you an example, if I have 1 here and I change that to a short date, you see it changed to January 1st, 1900. And if I have 2, that as a date would be January 2nd, 1900. And that is the reason why 150 was changed here to May 29th, 1900. Okay, let me do undo and go back here. This is not really a date, so I'm going to change it back to currency either by going here or clicking on this dollar sign, which is your accounting number format, and it'll change to 150 with a dollar sign. I also have this other option called percentage, and it'll change my 150 to a percent style. So 150 becomes 15,000%. Again, if you, let's say, have 0.5 in a cell and I click percent, what do you think it'll change to? It'll change to 50%. Okay, I'm going to delete this, go back here, change it to dollar. Okay, some of the other options that you have here are long date, time, again percentage, fraction, scientific notification, and text. I would encourage you to go into your Excel workbook and try out these different options. For all this particular data, because it's revenue, I'm going to select my cells and I would click on the dollar sign and would change them to the accounting number format. And I don't really like the decimals, so I'm going to remove these decimal points. And now my data looks much better. If you're interested in learning more about conditional formatting, which is the next option available here, I have a video on my channel which explains everything about conditional formatting and takes you through all the different conditional formatting options that are available in Excel. I would encourage you to take a look at the video. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel to continue learning new Excel tips and tricks.